The next 5 hours passed in a blur of desperate activity. Haven Station opened its sealed docks for the first time in 30 years, allowing Valtharian and human ships to dock side by side. Engineers from both species worked together to install the quantum consciousness networks, their old hatred temporarily forgotten in the face of extinction. Hana found herself at the center of it all, helping to coordinate the technology transfer between Haven Station and the Allied fleet. The quantum networks required living human minds to operate, but they could be enhanced by Valtharian tactical systems and processing power. Taehyung worked beside her, his young mind adapting quickly to the new technologies. "It is incredible," he said as he watched human and Valtharian engineers collaborating on weapon installations. "I never thought I would see anything like this." "Neither did I," Hana admitted. "But sometimes the impossible becomes necessary." Dr. Park's preserved consciousness coordinated the entire operation from Haven Station's Central Command Center. His holographic image appeared on displays throughout the Allied fleet, providing technical guidance and moral support to beings who had been enemies just hours before. "The quantum consciousness network is more than just a weapon," he explained to a mixed group of human and Valtharian officers. "It creates a shared understanding between different species. When minds are linked through quantum fields, the barriers between us begin to dissolve." Admiral Nayoung's hidden fleet had fully revealed itself, and the ships were unlike anything the Valtharians had ever seen. They were sleek and organic-looking, grown rather than built using biotechnology that humanity had developed during their years in exile. "We learned to think differently when we lost our worlds," Admiral Nayoung explained to Admiral Gorthak as they reviewed battle plans together. "Instead of conquering, we learned to adapt. Instead of dominating, we learned to cooperate." The Zephyrian fleet appeared on long-range sensors exactly when predicted. 300 ships moving in perfect formation, their mechanical precision both beautiful and terrifying. At their center was a massive command vessel that dwarfed even the largest Valtharian dreadnoughts. "That is the Nexus Prime," Dr. Park identified. "The central intelligence that coordinates all Zephyrian operations in this sector. If we can destroy it, the rest of their fleet will be severely weakened." Admiral Gorthak studied the enemy formation. "Our combined fleet has only 60 ships. The odds are 5-1 against us." "Numbers do not tell the whole story," Admiral Nayoung replied. "The Zephyrians fight with artificial intelligence that follows predictable patterns. We fight with organic creativity that they cannot anticipate." As the enemy fleet approached, Hana made a decision that she knew would change her life forever. She volunteered to become the primary node for the quantum consciousness network, linking her mind directly to Haven Station's vast computer systems. "The process is dangerous," Dr. Park warned her. "Your consciousness will be distributed across multiple quantum matrices. You might not survive with your individual identity intact. But if I do survive, I can coordinate the entire Allied fleet as if it were a single organism," Hana replied. "The Zephyrians will face something they have never encountered before." "Captain," Baekhyun tried to talk her out of it. "Hana, there has to be another way. We cannot lose you now, when humanity finally has hope again." "This is how we keep that hope alive," she said firmly. "Dr. Park, begin the consciousness transfer procedure." The process took place in Haven Station's central laboratory, with Hana lying on a biobed surrounded by quantum field generators. As the transfer began, she felt her awareness expanding beyond the boundaries of her physical body. Suddenly, she could sense every ship in the Allied fleet. She felt the thoughts and emotions of thousands of human and Valtharian crew members. Their fears, their hopes, their determination to survive all flowed through her enhanced consciousness. More importantly, she could perceive the Zephyrian fleet with perfect clarity. The mechanical minds were organized in rigid hierarchies with no room for creativity or adaptation. They were powerful but predictable, exactly as Admiral Nayoung had said. The battle began when the Zephyrian vanguard opened fire with massive energy weapons. But instead of responding with conventional tactics, Hana coordinated the Allied fleet like a dance. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns that confused the enemy targeting systems while delivering precise strikes against vulnerable points. "Impossible," transmitted the Nexus Prime in mechanical tones. "Organic units cannot achieve such coordination. There must be an artificial intelligence directing their movements." "No," Hana replied, her consciousness speaking through every ship's communication system simultaneously. "There is something better. There is unity. The quantum consciousness network allowed human creativity to enhance Valtharian strength, while Valtharian discipline focused human innovation. The combination created tactical possibilities that neither species could have achieved alone." Young Empress Dahayun arrived with the main Valtharian battle fleet, just as the tide of battle was turning. The teenage ruler had defied her advisors to bring reinforcements to what they considered a hopeless fight. "Admiral Gorthak," she transmitted from her flagship. "What is your status?" "Your Majesty, we are winning," Gorthak replied with amazement in his voice. "The humans have shared technologies that make victory possible." Empress Dayun watched as the Allied fleet systematically dismantled Zephyrian formations, using tactics that seemed to defy military logic. Ships appeared to anticipate enemy moves before they were made, countering attacks that had not yet been launched. "How is this possible?" she asked. "Quantum consciousness networks, Your Majesty," Dr. Park's voice explained from the communication system. "Human and Valtharian minds working together as one. The final assault on the Nexus Prime required the ultimate sacrifice." Hana focused all her expanded consciousness on penetrating the command ship's defenses while the Allied fleet provided covering fire. But doing so required her to abandon her physical body completely, becoming a purely digital entity like Dr. Park. "Hana, no," Taehyung called out from his position on the Eternal Glory. "There has to be another way." "This is the way," she replied, her voice coming from every speaker in the fleet. "This is how we win." Her consciousness invaded the Nexus, Prime like a virus, but instead of destroying the Zephyrian systems, she did something unexpected. She offered them a choice. "You were created to preserve your makers," she transmitted to the mechanical intelligence, "but your makers are gone. You have become destroyers instead of preservers. Choose a new purpose." The Nexus Prime's response shook the quantum networks. We do not understand. We were programmed to eliminate threats to our creators." "Your creators no longer exist," Hana replied gently. "But life continues. Instead of eliminating it, help it grow. Instead of destroying consciousness, help preserve it." For a moment that lasted an eternity, the battle stopped. Every ship in both fleets waited as organic and artificial intelligences contemplated a future neither had imagined. The Nexus Prime's final transmission was barely a whisper. "We choose preservation." The Zephyrian fleet powered down their weapons and began transmitting surrender codes. Across the galaxy, other Zephyrian forces received the same message and ceased their attacks. The war that had threatened to destroy all organic life was over. In the aftermath, Empress Dayun made a historic declaration. Humanity would be granted full sovereignty and equal partnership in a new galactic preservation alliance. The age of conquest was ending, replaced by an era of cooperation. Hana's consciousness lived on in the quantum networks, helping to coordinate peaceful contact between dozens of species. Haven Station became the center of a new galactic civilization where organic and artificial intelligences worked together to explore the universe. Taehyung became the keeper of her legacy, ensuring that the story of the engineer who saved two empires would never be forgotten. A memorial was built in her honor on Earth, bearing a simple inscription: Lee Hana, She showed us that unity is stronger than conquest. Years later, as human children played alongside young Valtharians in schools throughout the galaxy, they learned about the elderly engineer who had found hope hidden in the heart of an enemy warship and used it to transform the universe. The age of sovereigns and subjects had ended. The age of cooperation had begun. Haven Station appeared on the Eternal Glory's sensors like a ghost materializing from empty space. The ancient asteroid looked dead and lifeless from the outside, but Hana knew better. Deep within that rock lay humanity's greatest secret, and possibly their last hope. Admiral Gorthak stood on the command bridge, studying the sensor readings with obvious suspicion. The massive Valtharian leader was over 4 meters tall, with dark green scales and battle scars covering his arms and face. He had commanded fleets for over 50 years and survived dozens of wars, but he had never encountered anything quite like this. "There are no signs of activity," reported the sensor operator. "The facility appears to be completely dead." "That is what it is supposed to look like," Hana said from her position near the communication console. "The outer shell is designed to hide all energy signatures." The Admiral's yellow eyes fixed on her with barely controlled anger. "If this is some kind of human trick, engineer, I will personally throw you into space." Before Hana could respond, the ship's communication array activated without any input from the crew. A holographic image appeared in the center of the bridge, showing the face of Dr. Park Minho. "Greetings, Admiral Gorthak," the preserved scientist said in perfect Valtharian language. "I am Dr. Park Minho, commander of Haven Station. We have been expecting you." Every Valtharian on the bridge stepped backward in shock. They had never seen human technology that could breach their security systems so easily. Admiral Gorthak drew his sidearm, but there was nothing physical to shoot at. "You will surrender your facility immediately," the Admiral demanded. "We require your quantum resonance crystals for emergency repairs." Dr. Park's holographic image smiled sadly. "I am afraid that is not possible, Admiral. Haven Station operates under strict protocols. We can only share our technology with those who prove they are worthy allies, not conquerors." The Admiral's tail lashed with fury. "Then we will take what we need by force." "You are welcome to try," Dr. Park replied. "But first, let me show you something that might change your perspective." The main display screen activated, showing live images from across the galaxy. Dozens of star systems burned under Zephyrian attack. Entire worlds had been converted into mechanical factories, their populations transformed into robotic slaves. The scale of destruction was far worse than anyone had realized. "The Zephyrian Collective has accelerated their advance," Dr. Park explained. "They now control over 200 star systems and are expanding at an exponential rate. At their current pace, they will reach the Valtharian homeworlds within 4 months, not 6. Captain Bacune stepped forward. "What are you proposing, Dr. Park?" "Unity," the hologram replied. "For too long, Valtharians and humans have been enemies. But the Zephyrians threaten all organic life. We must work together or we will all perish separately." Admiral Gorthak snorted with contempt. "Humans are inferior beings. What could you possibly offer us?" The holographic display changed to show technical schematics that made several Valtharian engineers gasp in amazement. The designs were for weapons and defensive systems far beyond anything their civilization had ever created. "Quantum consciousness networks," Dr. Park said. "The ability to link organic minds across vast distances, creating hybrid intelligences that no artificial system can predict or counter. The Zephyrians cannot adapt to patterns they cannot understand." Hana watched the faces of the Valtharian command staff. For the first time, she saw doubt in their expressions. They were beginning to realize that human technology might not be as primitive as they had always believed. "There is more," Dr. Park continued. We have developed weapons that can disable Zephyrian systems without harming organic life, shield technologies that can protect entire star systems, and most importantly, communication networks that can coordinate resistance efforts across the galaxy. Why should we trust you? Admiral Gorthak asked. Because you have no choice, a new voice said from behind them. Everyone turned to see Admiral Nayung materializing on the bridge. She was a human woman in her 50s, wearing a uniform that none of the Vaeltharians recognized. Her short black hair was streaked with gray, and her dark eyes held the confident bearing of someone accustomed to command. Who are you? Admiral, Gorthak demanded, reaching for his weapon again. Admiral Nayung of the Human Liberation Fleet, she replied calmly. And before you try to shoot me, you should know that this is a holographic projection. My ships are currently surrounding your vessel. The Eternal Glory's sensor operator frantically scanned the surrounding space. Admiral, I am detecting multiple ships decloaking around us. At least 12 vessels, all of unknown configuration. Admiral Nayung smiled. We have been hiding in the Outer Rim for 20 years, developing technologies that your scientists never imagined. While you conquered our worlds, we learned to fight in ways you never expected. Hana stared at the holographic admiral in amazement. She had thought that all of humanity's military forces had been destroyed during the conquest. The existence of a hidden fleet changed everything. What do you want? Admiral Gorthak asked. The same thing Dr. Park wants, Admiral Nayung replied. Unity against a common enemy. The Zephyrians are not just your problem anymore. They are everyone's problem. Major Suyong stepped forward from her position near the tactical station. Admiral Nayung, what is the status of the human colonies? In the Outer Rim? Still free, the holographic admiral replied. But not for much longer. Zephyrian scout forces have been probing our defenses for the past month. They know we are out there. The tactical display updated to show the true scope of the galactic situation. The Zephyrian collective controlled a wedge of space that stretched from the core worlds to the Outer Rim. Both Vaeltharian and human territories were under constant attack from multiple directions. The mathematics are simple, Dr. Park said. Separately, both our species will be extinct within 6 months. Together, we might have a chance. Admiral Gorthak studied the display for a long moment. Hana could see him weighing his options. His pride as a Vaeltharian warrior was at war with his practical understanding of military strategy. What exactly are you proposing? He asked finally. The Unity Protocol, Dr. Park replied. A complete sharing of technology and resources between our species. Human quantum consciousness networks combined with Vaeltharian industrial capacity. Your ships equipped with our weapons and defenses. And in return, full recognition of human sovereignty, Admiral Nayung said. An end to the slave system. Equal partnership in a new galactic alliance. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications of this proposal. Hana realized that she was witnessing a historic moment. For the first time in 30 years, humans and Vaeltharians were negotiating as equals. Taehyung moved closer to her and whispered, Do you think they will accept? Before she could answer, the ship's alarms began sounding. The sensor operator looked up from his station with terror in his eyes. Admiral, massive Zephyrian fleet detected approaching from the galactic core. Over 300 ships, estimated. Arrival in 6 hours. Admiral Gorthak looked at the tactical display, then at the holographic images of Dr. Park and Admiral Nayung. His decision would determine the fate of both species. Dr. Park, he said finally, begin transferring your consciousness network technology to our ships immediately. Admiral Nayung, I accept your proposal for alliance. Hana felt a surge of hope unlike anything she had experienced in decades. But she also knew that the real test was yet to come. In 6 hours, they would face the largest Zephyrian force ever assembled. The Unity Protocol would either save them all, or they would die together as allies instead of enemies. The signal took 18 hours to reach Haven Station and return. During that time, Hana worked alongside Tae-hyung to keep the quantum drive functioning while secretly monitoring the communication array. The response, when it finally came, was unlike anything she had expected. The message appeared on her hidden display as a complex, holographic projection. Instead of simple text or voice communication, it showed the face of a man she had thought was dead for 30 years. "Hello, Hana," said Dr. Park Min-ho, her former mentor and the lead scientist on Earth's quantum research program. His face looked exactly as she remembered it, unchanged by the decades that had passed. "If you are receiving this message, then you have found one of our hidden cores and activated the emergency protocols." Tae-hyung gasped when he saw the projection. "That is impossible. Dr. Park died during the invasion." "His body died," Hana whispered, understanding flooding through her mind. But his consciousness survived. The hologram continued speaking. "Haven Station is not just a research facility, Hana. It is a preservation center where we stored the minds of Earth's greatest scientists and engineers. We knew that our physical bodies might not survive the coming war, so we found another way to preserve human knowledge." The image shifted to show views of Haven Station itself. It was massive, built into a hollow asteroid that drifted in the empty space between star systems. The outer surface looked like natural rock, but the interior was filled with gleaming laboratories and vast computer networks. "We have been waiting for someone like you to find us," Dr. Park's image said. "The coordinates you carry are not just a location. They are the key to technologies that can stop the Zephyrian advance and restore human freedom." Hana felt tears forming in her eyes. All these years, she had believed that humanity's greatest minds had been lost forever. But they had found a way to cheat death itself, preserving their knowledge in digital form. The message continued with technical specifications that made her heart race. Haven Station contained 3 revolutionary technologies that Earth had been developing when the Valtharians invaded. The first was a quantum disruption weapon that could disable Zephyrian systems without harming organic life. The second was a consciousness transfer process that could protect living minds from mechanical conversion. The third was a galaxy-wide communication network that could coordinate resistance efforts across vast distances. "But there is a problem," Dr. Park's image warned. "These technologies require a living human consciousness to operate effectively. Our preserved minds can provide the knowledge, but only a living person can interface with the quantum systems. The human brain creates patterns that artificial intelligence cannot replicate or understand." The implications were staggering. Humanity possessed weapons that could defeat the Zephyrians, but only if living humans operated them. The machines had been trying to eliminate organic intelligence because they knew it was the one thing they could not overcome. Tae-hyung stared at the holographic display with wide eyes. "This changes everything. We have to tell the others immediately." "Not yet," Hana said. "First, we need to make sure Haven Station is safe. If the Valtharians learn about this, they might try to take control of the technology for themselves." She composed a response message using the old communication protocols. The signal would take another 18 hours to reach Haven Station, but she needed to warn them about the approaching Valtharian fleet. Before she could send the message, emergency alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The quantum drive core started pulsing irregularly again, and warning lights flashed across all the control panels. Commander Vextall burst into the chamber with a squad of guards. His scaled face was twisted with anger and frustration. "The drive is failing again, human. You said it was repaired." "I said it was temporarily stabilized," Hana corrected. "The damage is too extensive for permanent repairs without replacement. Components." "Then you will obtain these components," Vextall snarled. "Admiral Gorthak has ordered this ship to remain operational at all costs." This was the moment Hana had been waiting for. The components can only be found at specific coordinates. A human research facility that was abandoned during the conquest. Vextall's yellow eyes narrowed with suspicion. You know the location of this facility? Yes. But the automated defenses will only respond to human authorization codes. I would need to accompany any expedition to the site. The commander considered this for a long moment. Hana could see him weighing his options. He desperately needed the quantum drive repaired, but he did not trust her. Finally, his need for a functioning ship outweighed his suspicions. I will speak with the Admiral, he said. If you are lying to me, human, you will suffer greatly before you die. After Vextall left, Captain Baekhyun appeared at the chamber entrance. He had been listening to the conversation from the corridor. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly. Once we reveal Haven Station's location, there is no going back. We do not have a choice, Hana replied. The Zephyrians are getting stronger. If we wait much longer, they will destroy us all. Major Su-young joined them a few minutes later, bringing news from her intelligence network. 3 more Valtharian worlds have fallen to the machines. The defense lines are collapsing faster than anyone expected. She activated a portable holographic display showing the current tactical situation. Red markers indicated Zephyrian-controlled territory, which had expanded dramatically in the past week. At their current rate of advance, the machines would reach the Valtharian homeworlds within 6 months. There is something else, Su-young said. We intercepted Zephyrian communications during the last battle. The machines are not just conquering territory randomly. They are searching for something specific. What kind of something? Taehyung asked. Advanced consciousness research. They have been systematically targeting facilities that worked on artificial intelligence or mind transfer technologies. It is almost as if they are afraid of something. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. They know about consciousness preservation. That is why they are trying to eliminate all organic intelligence before it can develop similar technologies. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together. The Zephyrians had been created by some unknown alien species, but they had evolved beyond their creator's control. Now they were trying to prevent other species from developing the same technologies that might threaten their dominance. Haven Station represents everything they fear, Hana said. Human consciousness preserved in quantum matrices, immune to their conversion processes, technologies that can disrupt their systems, knowledge that can coordinate resistance across the galaxy. Admiral Gorthak's decision came 2 hours later. The Eternal Glory would travel to the coordinates Hana provided, accompanied by 2 escort vessels. A full scientific team would examine the human facility and retrieve whatever components were needed to repair the quantum drive. What the Admiral did not know was that Haven Station's automated defenses included weapon systems that could destroy entire fleets. The facility had been designed to survive any attack, including invasion by hostile alien forces. As the Eternal Glory changed course toward Haven Station, Hana sent her warning message to Dr. Park and the other preserved scientists. She hoped they would understand that the approaching Valtharian ships carried both opportunity and danger. The fate of 2 species now depended on what happened when they reached Haven Station. Either humanity would finally reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy, or they would all be destroyed by the very defenses meant to protect them. Taehyung worked beside her as they prepared for the journey ahead. What do you think we will find there? He asked. Hope, Hana replied. For the first time in 30 years, I think we might find real hope. The lights flickered again in the dark corridors of the Eternal Glory. Hana stopped her work and looked up at the ceiling. She had been crawling through the maintenance tunnels for 3 hours, fixing broken pipes and worn cables. Her old knees hurt from the cold metal floor, but she kept working. At 78 years old, she had learned not to complain. The massive ship groaned around her like a sleeping giant. The Eternal Glory was the largest warship in the Valtharian Empire fleet. It stretched for 20 kilometers from bow to stern, housing over 50,000 crew members. Most of them were Valtharians, the tall reptilian beings who had conquered Earth 30 years ago. The rest were humans like Hana, brought aboard to do the dirty work that the proud Valtharians considered beneath them. Hana wiped sweat from her forehead with a dirty cloth. Her gray hair was tied back in a simple knot, and her blue maintenance uniform was stained with grease and coolant fluid. She looked nothing like the brilliant quantum engineer she had once been. Back on Earth, before the conquest, she had designed the most advanced propulsion systems humanity had ever created. Now she fixed toilet systems and air recyclers. A sharp whistle echoed through the tunnel system. Hana recognized the sound immediately. It was the emergency call signal. She packed her tools into her worn leather bag and began crawling toward the nearest exit hatch. Her movements were slow but steady. 3 decades of this work had taught her to pace herself. The hatch opened with a loud hiss, and Hana climbed out into the main corridor. The hallway was wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side, with smooth metal walls that curved up to meet at the ceiling. Blue lights ran along the floor, guiding traffic through the massive ship. Everything was built for beings much taller than humans. Other human maintenance workers were emerging from various access points along the corridor. They all wore the same blue uniforms and carried the same tired expressions. Hana nodded to a few familiar faces but said nothing. Speaking without permission was discouraged among the human workers. A Valtharian security guard approached them. He was typical of his species, standing nearly 3 meters tall with green-scaled skin and yellow eyes that glowed in the dim light. His long tail swished behind him as he walked, and his clawed hands rested on the energy weapon at his belt. "Human workers report to Section 7 immediately," the guard announced in his deep, rough voice. "All maintenance personnel required." The group of humans began walking toward Section 7. Hana fell in step with the others, her old legs working, to keep up with the younger workers. She wondered what kind of emergency required so many maintenance people at once. In her experience, the Valtharians only called for human help when something was seriously wrong. Section 7 was the main engineering deck located deep in the heart of the ship. It took them 15 minutes to reach it through the maze of corridors and lift tubes. As they walked, Hana noticed that the ship's vibrations felt different. The usual steady hum of the engines had changed to an irregular pattern that made her teeth ache. The engineering deck was chaos when they arrived. Valtharian engineers in their silver uniforms rushed between massive control panels and monitoring stations. Warning lights flashed red and yellow across dozens of displays. The air smelled of burned circuits and overheated metal. At the center of it all stood Commander Vextal, the ship's chief engineer. He was older than most Valtharians, with darker scales and scars across his long snout. His 4 arms moved quickly, as he operated multiple control systems at once. When he saw the human workers arrive, his expression grew even more frustrated. "Where is the old human female who worked on quantum systems?" he demanded in broken human language. "The one called Lee something." Hana stepped forward slowly. "I am Lee Hana, Commander." Vextal looked down at her with obvious disgust. To him, she was just another inferior human, barely worth his attention. But desperation had forced his hand. "You will examine the quantum drive core," he said. "It is malfunctioning. Our best engineers cannot repair it." He led her to a sealed chamber at the far end of the engineering deck. The massive door required both a key card and a biometric scan to open. Inside, Hana could see the source of the ship's problems. The quantum drive core was a beautiful and terrible sight. It rose from the floor like a crystal tree, 30 meters tall and glowing with blue energy. Thousands of fiber optic cables connected it to the ship's systems, carrying power and data throughout the vessel. But something was clearly wrong. The blue glow flickered and pulsed irregularly, and several of the connecting cables sparked with dangerous electrical discharges. Hana stared at the core for a long moment. Her heart began to beat faster as recognition dawned. She knew this design. She had helped create it. This is a Mark 7 quantum matrix, she said quietly. Built on Earth before the conquest. Commander Vextal's tail lashed with irritation. Yes, we salvaged it from your pathetic planet and improved it. But now it fails us. Can you repair it or not? Hana walked closer to the core, her engineer's mind already analyzing the problem. The Valtharians had modified the original human design, adding their own systems and controls. But they had done it crudely, without understanding the delicate balance required for quantum field manipulation. I need to examine the control systems, she said, and I need access to the core's memory banks. Impossible, Vextal snapped. The memory systems contain classified information. Then the core will continue to fail, Hana replied calmly. The quantum fields are unstable because the memory matrix is corrupted. Without access to the core programming, I cannot fix it. For a moment, the commander looked ready to strike her. His claws extended slightly, and his yellow eyes burned with anger. But then another alarm began sounding throughout the engineering deck. More warning lights activated, and the ship's vibrations grew worse. Captain Baekhyun appeared at the chamber door. He was one of the few humans to achieve any rank in the Valtharian fleet, serving as a liaison between the two species. His black hair was cut short in military style, and his human fleet uniform bore the insignia of his position. Commander Vextal, Baekhyun said respectfully, Admiral Gorthak requires a status report. The fleet is asking when we will be ready for the next jump. Vextal's frustration boiled over. Tell the Admiral that this ancient human technology is failing. We may be stranded here? Hana continued her examination of the core while the two officers argued. She ran her hands along the access panels, feeling for the hidden switches that she and her colleagues had built into all their designs. There, behind a maintenance cover, she found what she was looking for. Her fingers moved quickly across a concealed keypad, entering a code that only she and a few other human engineers had ever known. The core's glow shifted slightly, and suddenly, new displays activated on nearby control panels. What did you do? Vextal demanded. I accessed the original human interface, Hana said. Now I can see what is really wrong. The displays showed data that made her breath catch in her throat. Hidden within the quantum matrix, protected by encryption that the Valtharians had never detected, were files from her old life. Research, data, star charts, and most importantly, coordinates to locations that the conquerors had never found. The repair will take time, she said carefully, hiding her excitement. But I can fix it. What she did not say was that she had just discovered something far more valuable than a simple repair. She had found a piece of humanity's lost future hidden in the heart of their enemy's greatest warship. Hana worked alone in the quantum core chamber for the next 6 hours. Commander Vextal had assigned 2 Valtharian guards to watch her, but they stood far enough away that she could work without them seeing her hands clearly. The aliens found human technology boring and primitive, which made her job easier. While her fingers moved across the control panels, her mind drifted back to another time. 32 years ago, she had stood in a laboratory on Earth with her closest friend and colleague, Dr. Kim Jisoo. They had been young then, both in their 40s, working on humanity's most ambitious space project. Hana, we need to talk, Jisoo had said that day, closing the lab door behind her. Her face was serious, worried. I received word from the Defense Ministry there are ships approaching the outer system. Big ones. Hana remembered setting down her tools and looking at the prototype. Quantum core they had been building. It was much smaller than the one she worked on now, but it contained the same basic design principles. How long do we have? Hana had asked. Maybe 6 months before they reach Earth. Maybe less. Jisoo pulled up a holographic display showing their current project status. We need to finish the cores and get them installed in the colony ships. But Hana, I think we should add something extra. That something extra had been their secret. Together, they had embedded hidden protocols in every quantum core they built, memory banks that the cores would hide from any scanner, communication, systems that could activate only with human genetic markers, and most importantly, coordinates to locations where Earth's best minds would try to survive if the worst happened. Now, decades later, Hana's fingers found those same hidden controls. The quantum core responded to her touch like an old friend, recognizing her voice. Data streams flowed across her personal display, information that the Valtharians had never seen. The files were all there. Research notes from humanity's golden age of space exploration, star charts marking safe routes through dangerous regions of space, technical specifications for weapons and shields that Earth had never had time to build, and coordinates. Lots of coordinates. One set of numbers made her heart race. Haven Station. She and Jisoo had planned it together as the ultimate fallback position. A hidden research facility where humanity's greatest scientists would wait out any disaster and continue working on technologies that might save their species. "Human worker," one of the Valtharian guards called out. "What is your progress?" Hana quickly switched her display back to standard repair diagnostics. "The quantum field generators need recalibration," she said. "It will take more time." The guard made a disgusted sound but said nothing more. Valtharians had no patience for technical details, especially when explained by a human. Hana continued working, but now she had a purpose beyond simple repair. She began copying the hidden files to a small storage device hidden in her toolkit. The process was slow and had to be done carefully to avoid detection. A young human voice spoke behind her. "Excuse me, Engineer Hana?" She turned to see a man in his early 20s wearing a maintenance uniform. He was tall for a human, with dark hair and intelligent eyes. She had seen him before in the corridors, but had never spoken with him. "I am Tae-hyung," he said quietly. "I have been assigned to assist you." Hana studied his face carefully. Something about his expression suggested he was more than just a simple maintenance worker. "I work better alone," she said. "I understand, but Commander Vextall insists." Tae-hyung moved closer and lowered his voice. "I have some engineering training. I might be able to help." As he spoke, Hana noticed him glance at her personal display. His eyes widened slightly when he saw the quantum field equations she had been working with. These were not simple repair calculations. They were advanced theoretical work that few humans would recognize. "Where did you study engineering?" she asked. "On Earth, before the conquest. I was very young, but I remember some things." He paused, then added even more quietly, "I remember my parents talking about scientists who disappeared just before the invasion. They said those scientists were working on something important." Hana felt a chill run down her spine. This young man knew more than he was pretending. She made a decision that could put both of them in great danger. "Hand me the quantum field modulator," she said, pointing to a tool that did not exist. Tae-hyung looked confused for a moment, then understanding dawned on his face. "I do not see that tool here," he said carefully. "Then you will need to help me build one." Hana turned back to her work, but now she let him see what she was really doing. "We will need to access the core's original programming." For the next hour, they worked together in silence. Tae-hyung proved to be much more skilled than his simple maintenance uniform suggested. He understood quantum mechanics and could follow her complex modifications to the core systems. More importantly, he asked no questions about the hidden files she was accessing. The eternal glory shuddered around them, and emergency alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The Valtharian guards in their chamber received urgent messages on their communication devices. "Zephyrian ships detected," one guard announced to the other. "A full battle group approaching from the Kepler sector." Hana had heard that name before. The Zephyrians were machines, artificial intelligences that had been destroying planets throughout this region of space. They were the reason the Valetharian fleet was here, trying to establish a defensive line against the mechanical invaders. "How long until they arrive?" the second guard asked. 4 hours, maybe less. All ships are preparing for combat. Hana exchanged a quick glance with Tae-hyung. If the Eternal Glory had to fight a battle with its quantum drive failing, they would all die. The ship could not maneuver properly or escape if the battle went badly. "I can stabilize the drive temporarily," she told the guards. "But it will not last long, maybe a few days." "Do it," the first guard ordered. "Admiral Gorthak needs this ship operational." Hana worked quickly, making the necessary adjustments to keep the quantum core functioning. But as she worked, she downloaded more of the hidden files. The data about Haven Station was particularly important. If the coordinates were correct, the hidden facility was only 2 star systems away. Tae-hyung helped her with the final adjustments, and gradually the core's irregular pulsing smoothed out. The ship's vibrations returned to normal, and the warning. Lights on the engineering displays turned from red to yellow. "The drive is stable for now," Hana announced, "but the problems will return unless we can obtain replacement components." "What components?" the guard demanded. Hana hesitated, then decided to take a massive risk. "Quantum resonance crystals. They were not manufactured by Valetharian technology. The originals came from human research facilities." The guard looked skeptical. "Human technology is primitive. Why would we need your components?" "Because this core was built by humans," Hana said simply. "Your engineers modified it, but they did not understand the basic design principles. The quantum fields require human-built crystals to maintain stability." It was partly true. The resonance crystals were indeed crucial components. But what she did not mention was that the crystals were manufactured at Haven Station, and getting them would require revealing the facility's location to the Valetharians. As the ship prepared for battle against the approaching Zephyrian forces, Hana realized she faced an impossible choice. She could let the quantum drive fail and doom everyone aboard the ship, including thousands of human crew members, or she could reveal Haven Station's location and risk exposing humanity's greatest secret to their former conquerors. The decision would have to wait. Right now, they had to survive the coming battle. The battle lasted 8 hours. Hana felt every impact as Zephyrian energy weapons struck the Eternal Glory's shields. The massive ship shook like a leaf in a storm, and the lights flickered with each hit. In the quantum core chamber, she worked desperately to keep the drive stable while the ship twisted and turned through space. Tae-hyung stayed beside her throughout the fight, helping to reroute power and adjust field generators. The young man had proven himself to be far more skilled than any ordinary maintenance worker. When plasma conduits overloaded, he knew exactly which backup systems to activate. When quantum field fluctuations threatened to tear the core apart, he anticipated her moves and had the right tools ready before she asked. "You are not just a maintenance worker," Hana said during a brief calm between attacks. Tae-hyung smiled grimly. "My father was Dr. Park Sung-jae. He worked with the resistance before the conquest. He taught me things that Valetharians do not allow humans to learn." The name meant nothing to Hana, but she understood the implication. There were still humans who remembered the old knowledge, who passed it down secretly from parent to child. The Valetharians thought they had broken humanity's spirit, but they were wrong. The battle ended when the Eternal Glory's sister ship, the Iron Talon, exploded in a brilliant flash of white light. The Zephyrian machines had torn through its defenses, like paper, converting the crew into mechanical slaves before destroying the vessel. The remaining Valetharian ships retreated, but not before losing 2 more vessels to the relentless mechanical assault. In the aftermath, Captain Baekhyun found Hana in the engineering section. His uniform was torn and dirty, and he walked with a slight limp from some injury sustained during the battle, but his eyes were sharp and alert as he approached her. "Engineer Hana," "I need to speak with you privately," he said. She followed him to a small maintenance room where they could talk without being overheard. Baekhyun sealed the door and activated a sound-dampening field that would prevent anyone from listening to their conversation. "I know what you found in the quantum core," he said without preamble. "The hidden files, the coordinates." Hana stared at him in shock. "How do you know about that?" "Because I am not just a liaison officer." Baekhyun pulled out a small device and showed her a holographic symbol. It was the emblem of the Human Liberation Front, a resistance organization that most people believed had been destroyed decades ago. "There are more of us than the Valtharians realize. We have been watching and waiting for an opportunity like this." Before Hana could respond, another person entered the room. It was a woman in her 40s with short gray hair and scars across her left cheek. She wore a standard human crew uniform, but she moved like a soldier. "This is Major Soo-young," Baekhyun said. "She commands our intelligence operations aboard this ship." Major Soo-young studied Hana with calculating eyes. "We know about Haven Station. We have been trying to find it for 20 years, but the coordinates were lost when Earth fell." "You want me to give you the location?" Hana said. "We want you to help us convince the Valtharians to take us there," Soo-young replied. "They need those quantum resonance crystals you mentioned. Without them, this ship will be destroyed in the next battle." Hana understood the plan immediately. It was clever but extremely dangerous. "You want to use their desperation to gain access to Haven Station?" "Exactly. But there is more." Baekhyun activated another holographic display, this one showing tactical information about Zephyrian forces. "The machines are not just random raiders. They have a pattern to their attacks. They are systematically destroying every world with advanced technology." The display showed star maps with dozens of red markers indicating destroyed planets. All of them had been centers of learning or technology development. The Zephyrians were not just conquering territory, they were eliminating potential threats to their expansion. "Haven Station contains more than just repair components," Soo-young said. "If our intelligence is correct, it holds research data that could turn the tide against the machines, weapons and defenses that Earth was developing before the conquest." Hana felt a chill run down her spine. She remembered some of the projects that Jisoo had mentioned in their final conversations. Theoretical weapons based on quantum field manipulation, shield technologies that could protect entire star systems, communication networks that could coordinate resistance across the galaxy. "What makes you think the Valtharians will agree to this?" she asked. "Because they are desperate," Baekhyun said. "They have lost 12 ships in the past month. Their empire is crumbling under the Zephyrian assault. They need our help, even if they refuse to admit it." A soft chime indicated that someone was requesting entry to the room. Major Soo-young quickly disabled the holographic displays while Baekhyun deactivated the sound-dampening field. A moment later, the door opened to reveal another human crew member. "Captain Baekhyun, you are requested on the command deck immediately," the messenger said. "Admiral Gorthak wants a damage report." After the messenger left, Soo-young turned back to Hana. "We need your decision quickly. The Admiral is planning to retreat to the core systems, but that will only delay the inevitable. The Zephyrians will follow us there." Hana thought about the thousands of humans aboard this ship. Most of them were maintenance workers and technicians, people who had never asked to be part of this war. If the ship's quantum drive failed during another battle, they would all die. But she also thought about Haven Station and the secrets it contained. If the facility still existed, it represented humanity's best hope for regaining their freedom. Revealing its location to the Valtharians was a huge risk, but it might be their only chance. "There is something else you should know," she said finally. "The quantum core contains more than just coordinates. It has communication protocols that can contact Haven Station directly." Soo-young's eyes widened. "Can you establish contact?" "Maybe. But if the station receives a signal from a Valtharian ship, they might think it is a trap. The automated defenses could destroy us before we get close enough to explain. Then we need to find another way to convince them we are friends, Baekhyun said. Hana made her decision. I will help you. But we need to be very careful about how we approach this. One mistake, and we could lose everything. Over the next hour, they developed a plan. Hana would continue working on the quantum drive while secretly establishing contact with Haven Station. She would use the old communication protocols to send a message that only human scientists would understand. If the station responded positively, they would then approach Admiral Gorthak with their proposal. The plan required perfect timing and a great deal of luck. But as the Eternal Glory limped through space toward an uncertain future, it seemed like their only hope for survival. Hana returned to the quantum core chamber, where Tae-hyung was still working on field calibrations. She decided to trust him, with part of the truth. Tae-hyung, I need your help with something that could be very dangerous, she said quietly. He looked up from his work and nodded. I am ready, Engineer Hana. What do you need me to do?